Hi everybody, this is Shannon from No Shelf Control. Thanks for joining me on the channel tonight. I have something a little different for you today. I actually have 4 children's books that came my way that I wanted to review for you. So I know not all of you read children's books. I do read them now and then just because I like them, and also because I have a kindergarten reading buddy. And so we tend to read a lot of Elephant and Piggy and a little bit of Wonky Donkey. And I'm always looking for something new to share with her. My child, of course, is way too old for children's books, but I think there's something special about them, and I like to know what is, hot and new and exciting. We loved the crayons books about the day the crayons quit. We loved Elephant and Piggy by Mo Willems, The Pigeon. We had a lot of favorites when my son was younger, and so I like to stay on top of what is current. So I got these 4 books, and I wanted to tell you about 2 that I'm super excited about, 1 that I'm not so super excited about, and 1 that I'm just sort of on the fence about. So let's get started. The first one that I wanted to talk to you about is called The Cool Bean. It's by Jory John. If you know Jory John, he has lots of books about different kinds of foods or vegetables, fruits and vegetables, and tells really cool stories about them. And the illustration is always done by Pete Oswald. It's always really cute and very funny. And so this is The Cool Bean. He looks like a garbanzo bean. He has a lot of friends who are different kinds of beans, and they all started out living in the same pod. So let me tell you a little bit about the book, and then I'll tell you a little bit about what happens with the cool bean without, too many spoilers. So The Cool Bean was published December 3rd, 2019, so it is not brand new, but it is still one that I wanted to talk about. It is published by HarperCollins, and it is 40 pages. As I said, it's by Jory John, and the illustrations are by Pete Oswald. I have read a lot of Jory John's children's books, and I love all of them, and this one is no exception. The synopsis on this one says, everyone knows the cool beans. They're so cool. And then there's the uncool has-been. Always on the sidelines, one bean unsuccessfully tries everything he can to fit in with the crowd, until one day the cool beans show him how it's done. So, as I said, this is a story of this little garbanzo bean who lived in a pod with all the other cool beans, and then one day realizes that he's not as cool as the other beans. He, is sort of left out. He does a lot of things by himself, and just doesn't feel like he's part of the crowd. So he tries to be cool. You'll see in the book some of the things that he tries in order to be cool. It's worth taking a look at the book just to see those things. And then ultimately what happens is the cool beans start to be kind to him. He drops his books and one of the cool beans helps him pick it up. Something else happens and another one of the cool beans befriends him. So he ultimately becomes friends again with the cool beans and realizes that what makes you a cool bean is helping others. So I thought it was a good message. Jory John makes a point at the end of the book of saying he's not with the cool beans all the time. Sometimes he likes to be on his own and be independent and do his own thing, which I thought was important too. You're not always going to hang out with the cool kids to the exclusion of everyone else. You have your own life. So I thought it was a good book with a good message. The pictures are adorable. Check them out. And I think the book is just fun. So it is one that I would read. I would read anything Jory John publishes. So give one of those a try and let me know what you think. The next book that I want to talk about is called No One Likes a Fart by Zoe Foster Blake. So you can tell from the title it's going to be a good one. Basically, let's see. This one is published in 2017 by Penguin Books Australia, and it's 32 pages. And here's the synopsis of this one. Fart is desperate to make friends and have fun, but no one likes a fart, not even a fart with a heart. With plenty of laughs and even more heart, this delightful picture book shows that even the smelliest among us can find a friend in this world. No One Likes a Fart is a sweet, funny story about a lonely fart who was just looking to make a friend. But it's hard out there for a fart. Too smelly, too embarrassing, too gross. Striking that perfect balance of gross out humor, wit, and heart, this beautifully illustrated picture book delivers a message of accepting yourself and finding a friend who loves you just the way you are. So similar in message to the Jory John book, but this one circles around the idea of a fart being somebody that nobody wants to be around. And you see him struggle and suffer, because people say bad things about him when he's around. And at first he doesn't even realize that they're talking about him. And then when it occurs to him that people are avoiding him, he becomes very sad. Ultimately, at the end of the book, he does find a friend, and I won't spoil it for you and tell you who the friend is that he finds, but it is well worth reading just to find out, especially if you have a child in your life. Anything, poop jokes, fart jokes, all of this stuff, big fun when you're in the under 5 crowd. My husband still thinks this stuff is hilarious. So, I have a 15-year-old and a husband in my house, and they're still way into the poop jokes. So I would check this one out. I think it's great. The pictures are really cute. It's illustrated by Adam Nichol. Try to give credit to the illustrator as well. Illustrated by Adam Nichol. You can see the fart on the front of the book here. He's a little sort of yucky colored cloud. And I think it's, worth a read. It's a cute one. It will entertain children, and it's a good one for adults to just stay on top of. The next one is the one that I'm not quite so fond of. It is called Two Dogs, and it is by Ian Falconer. Now, take a look at the cover. You can see these two dogs here. They're dachshunds, obviously, but they're super wrinkly. Their tongues are the same color as their body, which I don't know why that bothered me, but it really bugged me. If your dog's tongue is the same color as its body, you might want to see the vet. And then throughout the book in the illustrations, not on the cover here, but elsewhere in the book, there are anatomically correct drawings of the dogs. And I just have to tell you, I know that if I had read a book with dog penises and dog testicles in it, in the pictures, with my under 5-year-old, all we would have talked about would have been the dog penises and dog testicles. So I'm not entirely sure. I'm not afraid or opposed to talking about body parts, but I'm not sure why that needed to be part of this book. It has absolutely nothing to do with it, and it's not on the cover, but then all of a sudden every other page, has these anatomically correct dogs, and I know that's all we would have talked about with my son. So let me tell you more about this book, and then I'll tell you the rest of what I'm thinking. It was published June 28th, 2022 by HarperCollins, and it is 40 pages. Now, Ian Falconer, the author, is the guy who wrote the Olivia books, and I love the Olivia books. So I was a little, I don't know, maybe my expectations were too high for Two Dogs. But here's the synopsis. From Ian Falconer, Caldecott Honor winner and #1 New York Times bestselling creator of the Olivia series, comes a dashingly delightful picture book about two unforgettable dachshunds and their search for fun. Dachshund brothers Perry and Augie are home alone and desperately want to get outside and have a good time. Augie is the cautious one, the worrier. Perry is pure joy and excitement. When they finally manage to open the back door, mischievous adventures begin. Soon they're diving into the swimming pool, digging an enormous hole, and more. Will all return to normal before their owners come home? This witty and utterly heartwarming story plays perfectly off the exquisite illustrations. These are Ian Falconer's first all-new characters since Olivia, and Two Dogs is sure to equally capture the hearts of readers everywhere. Perfect for fans of imaginative dog books like Bark George and A Ball for Daisy. So here's what I'll say about Two Dogs. What you heard in the synopsis is exactly what happens in the book. The dogs try to get outside, they get outside, they do some things, their owners come home. It wasn't funny to me. It wasn't suspenseful. I wasn't curious about what the dogs were going to do next. They basically followed a pretty straightforward trajectory and they came back in the house. The pictures were fine aside from the balls and testicles, as I said before, but they weren't terribly cute. I just wasn't thrilled. I think if you want a very straightforward book, and it does say, perfect for fans of imaginative dog books like Bark George and A Ball for Daisy. Both of those books are also very straightforward, but they're for a much younger crowd. This book is illustrated in such a way that I would think this is 5-6-year-olds. And 5-6-year-olds are not interested in this straightforward path story, and neither was I as an adult. So if you're looking for something for a younger one, take a chance on this book. I think it would be great. They're not going to know about the balls and testicles, or the testicles and penises. And the story is, heartwarming. But it's very straightforward. Not enough in this day and age to keep a 5 or 6-year-old entertained, in my opinion. So, as I said, I very rarely pan a book completely, and I do think there's an audience for this book. It's just not the audience that I thought it was going to be, or that it's potentially sold for, and it's not one as an adult that got my attention. So that is Two Dogs by Ian Falconer. The last book that I want to show you actually came to me as a Goodreads giveaway, and it is called The Miracle of You. It's by Claire Cherry Reeves, and it's illustrated by Alejandra Barajas. And it's got this adorable little boy on the front and dog and rabbit. The illustrations are great. They're very cute. Let me tell you a little bit more about this book. So this book is 36 pages. It is published by, by Tommy Nelson. I've never heard of that publisher. It says Tommy Nelson is an imprint of Thomas Nelson, and it was just recently published in 2023. So this book is about a parent talking about how much of a miracle they think their child is, and that really their child is the biggest miracle in the universe. I love that message. I love the fact that the parent goes on and on about how, airplanes are amazing, mountains are amazing, the galaxies are amazing, but nothing is more amazing than you. And that really is the heart of this book. Now, I will say that it starts out with a bit of a God message. There are some God references, the idea that God made the child, that we have God to thank for the child at the beginning of the book. So if you're not a religious family or not comfortable with references to God, I would take a pass on this book. We are a pretty spiritual family, but not a religious family. Although I will say at 2 years old, my son once told the neighbor that God made everything, which embarrassed me to death because we're not a very religious family. And I thought, she was going to think we were raising a little proselytizer. But this book does have a little bit of God reference in the beginning, but then has a really great message about how special a child is. And then you can look at the amazing drawings. So it's talking about how amazing boats are and ships, and you've got the little person driving the boat or ship. But then it shows the child and talks about how there's nothing more exciting or adventuresome than the miracle of you. So this is a children's book that I think would be great as a baby gift. If you knew someone was comfortable with the God aspect of this book, this would be a great baby gift to give someone, maybe with a little something else. But I think this is the kind of book that any parent would love to read to their child. So that is The Miracle of You by Claire Cherry Reeves. And those are the 4 children's books that have come across my desk recently that I wanted to talk to you about. I had, some misgivings about the God part of the last book, but the first 2 books I absolutely loved. The Two Dogs book, I think there's an audience there for that book, but it's not what I expected. And so I was a little put off by it. And then, of course, you had The Miracle of You. So I hope you enjoyed this. It's something a little different. If you have any interest in children's books for either yourself or a child, these are some good ones to check out. If you did enjoy this, go ahead and click like and subscribe. That lets me know what people are enjoying that I'm creating so that I can do more of that. And maybe we'll come across some more children's books in the near future and I'll talk about those. I do have a wish list at the bottom of my description of my video. If you want to gift me with a book, bookshop.org will send it directly to me from my wish list. I will read it, give it a review on the channel, and give you a big shout out. And I would love that. So I have some more book reviews coming up. I have a huge list of books that are coming out in the very near future in April. Also, we'll have the May Book of the Month selections and a few other things up my sleeve that you may not know about yet. So I hope you'll come back and continue to join me in talking about all things bookish. And I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.